started with that in 2010 to include digital techniques as well in my pieces. So and now I started with 3D printing in 2016, 17, and that's still becoming more and more present in my work. That's true. For my series Cage, that was presented in 2018. That was the first series that I created cages in a 3D program. So that was really 3D printed elements that were casted in silver afterwards. And now for my latest series, Wings. A wing is an organic shape, and it was really a challenge to bring elements from art history, references from painted wings or wings that were from bird studies, etching from the 17th century, to bring that into a 3D program and to make those etchings, to keep the handwriting, but to put them in a 3D program and to translate them in a 3D shape. Yeah, because with Cage I came to a kind of limit of what you can do by hand. I could, of course, ask somebody in Switzerland to produce a perfect cage model, but that would cost a fortune to do it in this precise, strict way. And I needed a kind of, not a wobbly version of a cage, but a really perfect one in a sense. So a digital program offered that kind of perfection, and also the possibility of scaling, that you can make things bigger or smaller to adapt them also to the human body. This is not so especially made for you. This is a wall that actually is there now since more than a year. I really used to make a kind of storyboard for myself to make a combination between different images and also sketches that helps me to understand actually what I'm looking for. And this is the whole kind of starting point for my latest series, Wings. But for instance, what I like a lot is that, when I start working, I don't actually understand what I'm doing, but because sometimes I combine certain images together, then after a few weeks, just putting them on the wall, I realize there is a kind of relation between the two. These are musical instruments.
Oh, wait, sorry, which one are we looking at?
This one, yeah, and I found it really nice. So those kind of images, they were part of this storyboard, and then later on I realized that I wanted to create wings that were actually, the wings themselves, they had to be stiff, and every other element or behind or in front that has a kind of flexibility and can move, and it's exactly what you can see here in these musical instruments as well. So this gave me actually the idea
it's sort of like showing two different states of the wing at the same time.
Exactly.
Like the one in motion and
yes,
the one that's relaxed.
Exactly. Yeah. So and this this is a stylized wing from the Byzantine area. It's like a mosaic from a church, and I really like that it's not a copy of a real wing, but it is an interpretation, and I really liked the visual relation between this musical instrument and this wing. So that helps me to define my own direction in this series. So it helps me. Here there are some drawings of Leonardo da Vinci, and he also was obsessed by flying, and I really like this mechanical part as being part of this series as well. So I didn't want to make a real copy of a wing. So there are in that sense many different aspects that you can see here. And here you can also see the drawing that was the starting point. This is a 17th century etching from the Rijksmuseum. So I could we took out this part of the wing. It's a closed wing from the back, and it's a falcon, and we transported it here. This was the first 2D digital process, and then towards a 3D process that you can see here. And here you can see the steps from the first digital print to the final digital print, and then to the first casting tryout that we did in silver. So here you can really see what I'm looking for, that I feel a kind of lack of sensitivity within the 3D plastic model, and then when this is casted in silver, then you can here see what it does, you know, now being a precious metal. So it is a total different, it has a weight, it has character, it has a beautiful shine, and all the details there are so much stronger present than in the digital model. And actually it's great to work together with the silver cast company, because that's also something that I love, working with other people, because you get so much more input that you yourself could never think of. Because he was, Stefan is his name, and he's tried to, like normally you have a kind of wax models that are, it's called opbomen, it means that they are on a tree and then they go, it's called the lost wax method. Well, what we tried is to use directly the plastic models, and then so to have a kind of lost plastic method. So this is burned in the kiln, in the oven, and then it's replaced by silver. So every model you have one real casted model in return. So it's a great technique. You know, when you have 3D models, it's a kind of polyamide, it's a kind of plastic, so to speak. So it's an artificial material in a way. And for me, that material has no bite, it has no weight, it doesn't agree on air or oxygen. So for me that's problematic. So it's lacking something, and I try in my work to transform this 3D model into a real or a material that has a kind of substance. And in that sense I really like precious metals or precious materials. They are not precious for nothing.
And I suppose this is maybe one of the benefits of taking on all these collaborative making relationships, that you, even if you yourself are not a glass blower, working with Edwin Dieperink over so many years, you've been able to really refine glass in your pieces.
Yes. Well, glass is a great material. It's a non-material. Glass has a kind of a lightness, and you know, it looks often very fluid, and it's actually really hard. So it is a kind of mysterious material that I'm drawn to very much, but it is a very complicated one to work with at the same time. So to really master that material, it's something that I would never be able to do. Edwin is trained as in a hospital as a glass instrument maker. So his base is very technical. He started when he was 17, and he works now for over 50 years with this material. When we start, we do playtime. So we start, I have an idea, of course. I'm the one that comes with, I would like to develop this or this or this, and then I show him drawings and whatever. And it's not that I say like, well, here's my drawing, I see you next week. When he's working, I work together with him. So I'm next to him, and so we really work together. Edwin has this great quality of getting into the visual language of somebody else. And I require, as a jeweler, a kind of language that he understands. But other colleagues of mine, visual artists that also work with him, they ask a total other kind of language and technique and of him. And he's also able to find their language too within his craft. And I think that's really, really special that he can do it. And of course, you know, at the beginning, I remember that he often said to me like, oh, no, when I came up with a kind of idea. He said, no, it's not possible. No, it will break. No. But also he learned throughout time to, okay, we do it. And he really takes, the adventure together with me. I would like people to look at my work as contemporary, because I always want to translate elements that I found interesting or also relevant for us now, to put them into my work. And I always use a kind of archetypes, for instance, like a cage or a wing or a flower or a snake, that like images that are actually reused or reinterpreted throughout art history in very many different periods all over the world. I think that like a snake has a kind of connotation in Greek history, but also in Native American history that it's totally different, but it's some part of maybe of being human or
yeah, it's elemental.
It's elemental, yeah. And I'm drawn to that very much.
Do you feel that there's a period in history which in your mind relates to or compares somehow to the period that we're in now?
I think a lot of aspects do relate. I mean, for instance, that how earlier civilizations dealt with nature, for instance, that it's very relevant to look at that and to look at those the worship that was, to make things spiritual or to make things special and not only for practical use and to conquer and to it's a total different approach towards the earth or to our natural resources, and I think it's very, very relevant to look at that as an example. And that's why I also embrace now digital technology, because I really wouldn't have any clue of how to realize my ideas. I'm very romantic, I think. It's not that I don't have a conceptual base, I do, but so I make work to understand why I do it. So when I start, I only have an urge, and then throughout the making and experimenting, then I finally get more close to what it actually means to me, and hopefully also for others. And I think that's what I said before in finding a connection between archetypes that are still relevant. I love the fact that it's that you don't understand, but you feel it anyway. You feel a kind of dynamic. You feel a spirituality, but you don't exactly can grasp it. It's overwhelming in a way. It's an experience more than a conceptual understanding. And I think that's I'm better in that intuitive area than in a conceptual approach.
Yeah. Well, and I think if it's not put into words per se, then it makes it more universal.
I hope.
Because it's not bound to language.
I hope.
Yeah.
That's what I hope.